This segment is sponsored by ADR Law, offering collaborative divorce mediation. Get a free peaceful divorce consultation with ADR Law. Hi, everybody. Kevin Wood back at Long Island Talks on LongIsland.com, talking to chefs around Long Island. Very happy to say that I have Tom Schaudel on the line. He's going to be coming in through the phone because he's that damn busy. We're just getting him any way we can. And we'll put this beautiful photo of him up so we can all see who Tom Schaudel is. I don't think he needs any introduction. I mean, restaurants like Panama Hattie's, Passion Fish, Cool Fish, Jedediah Hawkins, Allure. I believe you're at Allure right now, right, Tom?
I am. I'm sitting here actually looking at the bay.
Ah, beautiful. And it's a nice day out.
You know,
You've been called the rock star of the food scene. I know you've had a wonderful influence on the food scene, and you continue for over 40 years. I just want to go back a little for those that probably don't know your beginnings, all the way back to the Stone Age in 1973, when I believe you graduated from the Culinary Institute. I think that's in Hyde Park, right?
Yeah, it's in Hyde Park. Well, actually, the first year I went, it was still in New Haven, Connecticut. Started out in New Haven, Connecticut, and it changed campuses in 72. So I was the first graduating class actually out of Hyde Park.
Very cool. So before you even get to what you learned and what you did there, what was the scene like? I mean, that's a great time to be alive. Certainly not like today.
It was, yeah, you know, I started in the restaurant. This is way before that. I mean, I started in 68. I actually, Jimi Hendrix is the reason I'm a cook, believe it or not.
Wow.
You know, I started out as, like you, I started out as a guitar player as a kid. I saw the Beatles on Ed Sullivan when I was like, I don't know, 9 or whatever, 10 years old, whatever it was, and decided I want to be a rock star. So my grandfather bought me a guitar and sent me $3 a week for lessons. And so I was playing my whole, you know, young life and you know, playing in middle school now, whatever, middle school dances or whatever. Mm-hmm. And doing Beatles songs and stuff like that, you know, 60s English Invasion kind of tunes. And then a friend of mine brings over the Are You Experienced album to my house and puts it on. And I'm like, oh, shit, this is hard, you know? So anyway, I immersed myself in Jimmy's music, and I was getting pretty good at it, only I couldn't get the tone. I had a $50 Silvertone amp, you know?
Right.
So I figured if I played it louder, I could, you know, break it up. I'm trying to hotwire the thing. So I wound up blowing the thing up 3 or 4 times. And my father said, you know, if you think I'm giving you another dime for an amplifier, you're out of your mind. You want to get another amp, go get a job. So I didn't have working paper. I was only 15, so I lied my way into a dishwasher's job in this steak pub, and the rest is that's how it all happened.
The rest is history.
So if it wasn't for Jimmy, I could have been a bond trader or something. Who knows?
Great influence. You know, it's so funny. Someone just that was taking lessons actually asked his teacher, "Could you teach me this Jimi Hendrix song?" And the teacher said right away to him, he goes, "You're not ready for that. You don't hear that too much." So it's like, you're just not ready for that. And so now looking back, he's like one of 5 guitarists you can name, right? And we probably like the same guys, you know, Santana, and it's just wonderful influence. So food, music. My grandfather used to say 3 things that drove him as an artist was food, music, and sex. So, you know,
there you go.
You know, a man can't ask for more than that. All right.
I throw a little wine in there once in a while.
I throw a little wine in there. That's very true. Absolutely.
Yeah.
So your influences were Jimmy on that side. Then you get into the food industry, the chef industry. Mm-hmm. Who were your influences going into that industry?
Well, I had 2 early on. I had a guy named Shorty who was this crazy African-American cat with a 5th grade education who was the first chef I ever worked under, and his 2 greatest attributes were an ability to drink 3 bottles of vodka during service and a penchant to carry unlicensed firearms, which was kind of an interesting combo package for a 15-year-old street kid. So, you know, I was in awe of him for a long time, and you know, we became best friends only because he couldn't find anybody else to hang out with him. I was either nuts or, you know, uninformed enough to do it. So I wound up being his best man at his wedding all before I was 18. The whole thing was completely crazy. I was hanging out with him from the time I was 15 till the time I was 18. And then I went off to school. And so basically through Shorty, I learned everything that you shouldn't do in a kitchen, in life, with a girlfriend, in a car. I mean, everything you could possibly think of. He was a disaster at. So I learned what not to do. And then I met a guy when I was 17. His name is Sandy Curdy. And he was Pierre Franet's sous chef at Le Pavillon Français in the city when that was the hot rest. That was like the Le Bernardin of its time, you know. Mm-hmm. And so I you know, I've been friends with Sandy. Sandy and I have been together since then. I worked with him at a restaurant. Then he bought into the restaurant, so I worked for him. And then we were partners in a restaurant, and then he worked for me after he retired. So we have a 40-year history, and he's the guy that really taught me the love of the fine French cuisine and the old classics and stuff like that. He was steeped in all that stuff. So he was my mentor on the what to do side, and Shorty was my mentor on the what not to do side. So pretty balanced education in that regard, you know.
So these are very humble beginnings. And now, I think when Long Islanders think of you, certainly even me, just up until, just a couple of years ago, I'm like, wow, Tom Schaudel. I mean, I kind of look at you as like a businessman, like an entrepreneur. Certainly you're an awesome chef and you love food. I know that. But you're a little different in that regard because you've been involved in so many restaurants. You could tell us, were you a partner? Were you owner? All three? But how did you get, like, you're not just a chef by any means, you're a businessman. What comes first? Or are they intertwined to be successful?
Well, I'm the accidental business guy. You know, it's I'm artist first and foremost. I'm right or left brain, whatever that side is. I'm not sure. I don't remember. But the business side came, out of sheer necessity, and I'm still not very good at it. I mean, because I don't like it. So it's hard to get really good at something you don't like. But when I opened my first restaurant, I'm this hotshot little cook here who thinks he knows everything, and I get in there and I'm like, oh my God, there's this whole other side. I had no idea. And you get your lumps. I mean, I had a landlord screw me out of a lot of money one time, and lawyers and this, that. You go through all of those learning curve things, and you wind up coming out the other end a survivor and I guess a business guy at some point. I always thought businessman was a euphemism for another word that we can't say on the radio.
Yeah.
You can't say it at a cocktail party. It's like martini was, a name for a glass of gin because the lady Pearls couldn't say, I'll have a glass of gin. I had to give it a name, So it's the same thing with businessmen and business guys. I mean, there's certainly, a kind of a thing to it.
Necessity.
For sure, and yeah, it is what it is. I do it out of necessity, not because I love it, because I have to survive. But my first love is the art of it, I mean, I'm in there because I really get excited about clear-eyed fish and thin-skinned lemons and perfect vegetables. Even I've been doing this 52 years now, so that's still what gets me out of bed in the morning. It's not even the money. I mean, because there's precious little of it in the restaurant business. The margins are so razor thin. It's almost, you should consider it a hobby, not a business.
I know. I'm here. You can't see me, but I'm drawing like a stock market line, and we're going to get to that in a minute. Just how challenging it is. Is any part of what you do part of the family? Was there anybody in the family that's in it, or anybody that's in the family now in the business?
No, I mean, my sisters, helped me all these years from a bookkeeping standpoint and some managerial duties and stuff like that. But no, I was the only one sick enough to go into it. I was influenced. My great grandmother actually was from Switzerland, and she actually worked in hotels in Switzerland when she was a young woman. And she was in the pantry, and she learned how to bake and desserts and salads and stuff like that. Women could never really ascend to, a position of prominence back then because of the chauvinism and stuff, back in I guess the early part of the century. But she taught my grandmother how to cook, and I remember hanging out with her in her kitchen when I was a kid, and she used to give me jobs to do, like grind the spinach, for the cream spinach, and it used to make me feel important. I was probably in the way more than anything else, but that was my first kind of influence as far as food went, because my mother was English, so try and find a cookbook with great English recipes in it, and you'll be at it a long time. So my mother was a terrible cook. I hope she's not listening. She's gotten a lot better. But when I was a kid, she was awful. But my grandmother was really, on my father's side, she was a very good cook and taught by my great-grandmother. So I had a little bit of influence there, but nobody was ever in the business. Nobody was nuts enough to do it.
So you're paving the road. And no one coming up behind you?
Yeah, I'm blazing the trail of insanity. Well, my daughter has been in it with me for all these years,
Okay.
She went to 9 years of private college and then decided to tell me, I want to sit, she's, can we go out to lunch? I need to talk to you. I'm thinking, oh my God, I'm going to be a grandfather, So we're sitting there and she goes, I think I want to, just come back into business with you. And I'm thinking, 9 years of private college, do the math. I'm sitting there with tears in my eyes, It's not the money. I was giving you the money. It's just you wasted 9 years now, whatever. So she's, and it's great to be able to work with your child.
It is nice.
It's a lot of fun.
Yep.
Yeah. But she's kind of moving off a little into the baking area. She has this business of her own called sweet fancy Long Island. She does these very upscale wedding cakes and cupcakes and things like that. So she's kind of moving in that direction at this point, and she's doing real well with it, thank God.
Very good. Very good. So I read in an interview that you were worried about one little item that many of us worry about. I have kids, and I don't mean to be mean or mean-spirited, but we worry about the wussification of America. Let's be frank here, right? It's a different set.
Yes.
We
Yeah,
just
totally.
right. I grew up in a certain set. You're a little bit older than me, but we know kind of what we're talking about here. So I have to ask you, and I want you to be honest with this. Outside of the restaurant business, what we're seeing here in this pandemic, where we see we're tough, we're heroes, we're staying home. I mean, do you have any opinion about that? Just how bizarre this all is? Have you ever seen anything like this?
No, never. And, I'm old enough to remember what they call the Asiatic flu. I guess it was the end of the 50s, 59, 58, whatever it was. And I remember, everybody talking about it and people getting sick. And I read about it recently. I think it was like 170 or 180,000 people died, but they didn't shut down the world, And granted, I mean, you have to protect the people that are the most vulnerable, obviously.
Yes.
But
Yep.
I think we're to, I mean, people are talking about a reopening. How are you going to reopen? What are you going to do? And I'm thinking, all right, I have a clientele that's terrified of gluten. I mean, forget COVID. You put a crouton on a Caesar salad, and I got people running away screaming. Yeah, and you're going to survive COVID? I don't think so. So aside from being food neurotic, which we've become, and it's really directly related to how much information we've had. Years ago, you saw a menu. It was like steak, fish, flounder, red snapper, whatever. Now you got, like red snapper with black tie rice, red curry, mango, and, so you have all this information on here. You have all these new ingredients, just kind of, sort of gracing us with their presence from all these markets all over the world. And we have the greatest food inventory in the world at this point in the United States, and people who know how to use it. And all we've done is gotten completely afraid of it and ran away and hid. It's like, we're the country that defeated the Nazis. We put people on the moon, and now, Sarah Lee is going to do to this country what Hitler couldn't do. I mean, it's going to be the Wonder Bread. It's going to be the end.
It's so
going to
true.
do what the Russians couldn't do. Yeah, it's like hilarious. I sit around, and I see it even in the kids. I had a kid come to me in one of the restaurants, and he goes, "Chef, I need to talk to you. I need to go to the HR department, human resources." I said, well, "You're looking at him. I mean, are you kidding me?" So
I know.
he's sitting down. I said, "What's the problem?" He goes, "Well, the sous chef, he kind of, he raised his voice. He was doing something wrong, and he kind of embarrassed me in front of he shouldn't have done that in front of these people." And I'm sitting there with my fingers in my eyes. I'm trying to be. I said, "Listen, I'm going to give you a little perspective here, okay? The first chef I worked for, Shorty, broke 2 of my ribs, right, in a drunken tirade on a Saturday night. This he raised his voice to me thing is hard for me to get down. I feel like a snake with a rat in its throat here. I'm trying to be sensitive, dude, but you got to grow some skin, He yelled at me. I'm over it. Go back to work,
Yeah, this
But
is
that's
what we're
we're
saying.
dealing with now.
That's what we're dealing with. Yeah.
Yeah.
And believe me, I don't mean to put down what's happening, but I think perspective here is healthy, and I think only you can show that. As a matter of fact, I wanted to ask you, I just recently read that during Woodstock, which you, I think, are the perfect age to know this, especially with your influence with Jimmy, that apparently we were in a pandemic literally when 500,000 people got together, a flu pandemic. I don't know if you remember that or can confirm that.
I remember, yeah. Yeah, I remember working in a restaurant, and we couldn't get the weekend off. We were going to go. It was me and 2 busboys. We were going to drive up there, but they couldn't get the weekend off.
Right.
Like, that was kind of a look into my future for the rest of my life. But I don't really remember that. It could have been. I don't remember, being.
Well, the fact here's the thing. Yeah, just the fact that you don't remember, and if it was true, and seems to be it was true, that says something else, because we're reminded with every text, every tweet, every day, 100,000 times a day, what we're going through. So it's a little bizarre. I want to get a little positive now. Farmingdale just released that they're going to sit 424 people outside Farmingdale Village. And other villages I think will be coming up, and New York State is kind of looking at this for separation, but still keep the food business and the restaurant industry alive. Know anything about this? Any thoughts on that? What you might be going through yourself with your own restaurants on separation, or any the challenges? I'm sure you just want things back where they were, you know?
Well, what I'd like them to do is if we could all just take about 3 minutes and grab the politics and take it out of this whole discussion. And this is the problem. You don't know what to believe. I mean, both sides have an agenda, and it's painfully obvious, you know, who's on what side.
Right.
And so the bottom line is, like, could you just give us the real information? The real number of deaths, not the ones that, you know, the hospital's getting more money for, or you want it to be against Trump or with Trump or whatever. Just tell us what's going on. We're adults. We'll make the right decisions at some point. You ain't going to have some yahoos doing the wrong thing, but they're doing it anyway. But I just want the information so I can make an informed decision. That's all. Not somebody's agenda. I mean, you know, like, you know, you watch these things on TV. You can't go out, but unless you have to go out, but then go out. But it's okay. But
it's funny
not
as
really.
hell.
But
it's getting
wear the
ridiculous.
Mask, but, you know, don't wear the mask. It's nuts. It's absolutely, and nobody knows what they're doing because they've never seen it before. You know,
That's right.
It's not like anybody has a real handle on it. You know. So I don't know. I mean, and you know, opening restaurants is, you know, I love this. Well, let's do 25% capacity. Hey, dude, I can't make a living on 100% capacity. You know, it's ridiculous.
Yep.
Are you going to tell LIPA to charge me 25% of my bill? I mean, come on.
It's almost this comes out of their mouth and they realize what they said. And it's like, yeah, we got to go back to the drawing board. It's absolutely ridiculous. We should demark this. Yeah. It's May 19th today, May 19th. And we're 2.5 months into this, a little bit over that. And look, you're seeing right now, people are getting restless. There are actual rallies going on. And I say that when people look back at this, they'll understand what point we're at. You talk to a lot of chefs, a lot of people in the restaurant industry. You know, where are we going to go from here? What's your plans?
I don't know. I mean, it's like I said, we're in uncharted waters here. You know, I'm looking at some of this stuff, and you say, well, if they're going to allow us to go back to, you know, 25 or 50%, you know, I'm better off staying closed. You know, they've done so much damage here. I mean, they're trying to give these PPE loans out. I have 2 of them, one in Amano and one in, you know, in Allure. And, you know, I'm having trouble getting people to come in. They're making more money on unemployment than they are if they come back to work, you know?
Yep.
It's like you sit here and you scratch your head. It's like, I mean, you have to have a PhD from Harvard to do things this stupid. You know, nobody with a high school education would make this dumb of a deal. I mean, it's incredible to me how these forward thinkers come complicate this thing to the point of confusing people to the point where they don't know what to do.
Yeah, that is the sentiment. That's
where we all are.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I just don't understand it. If they would just let the business guys do the business thing, you know, at the sake, you know, I should say at the risk of, you know, being called names here, we got to get the lawyers out of the equation. These guys are just, you know, every politician. I've never met a lawyer that didn't think he was the smartest guy in the room. And every politician is a lawyer, and they're all, you know, like they can't make a decision because they're weighing this against that. What's going to happen if I do this? It's bizarre.
It would be nice if they got the leaders of the particular vertical business, you know, to talk to them. And you could see that happening. The voices are rising. They've got to be very careful about where to go from here because the voices are rising very, very quickly. Let me ask you something. Yeah. Are you seeing anything from your perspective coming out positive on this? I was talking to one chef that said, we never did takeout, and now we're experts at takeout, or at least we're entertaining it going forward. Anything positive coming out of this your way, do you think? Maybe there isn't. I'm just asking. Well,
yeah, I guess, you know, if you want to be a takeout restaurant, I guess that's positive. You know, you're learning how to do it.
Right.
I was never good at it. I'm still not. You know, but the thing is, you know, I have different kinds of restaurants. So when you look at like Amano's kind of like this Tuscan Italian thing, and that's sort of, that food travels a little better. You know, most food doesn't travel well. You know, for takeout, Chinese food's good because it's all in usually some
packed
kind
up,
of a
tight
thing. So,
yeah.
Yeah, and it stays moist or whatever, you know. Even pizza, you know, once it's in a box, it starts to steam. The dough gets weird, you know. But, you know, people have been taking pizza home forever, so it's a natural thing for people to call in a Amano and get a pizza and pasta and go. Nobody's taking oysters out. You know, I'm not getting any calls for. I'll have a dozen oysters, tea, and maybe some, you know, some cocktail sauce there, or some
never happened.
Mignonette or whatever. It's not happening. So
you want to slurp that with a beer at the bar. Yep.
Yeah, exactly. You know, and even like a place like Allure. I mean, the allure of Allure is the fact that you can sit here and look at the bay. You know, it's that's the experience. I mean, you know, is my lobster any better than the other guy's lobster? Any better than the oysters? They're all the same, really. You know,
Right.
steamed
It's
lobster's steamed
the
lobster. But
affect.
you know, if you're looking at Jericho Turnpike and I'm looking at the Great South Bay, chances are you're going to come here.
That's a great point. What
So
about
with that,
What about
with
personnel wise, Tom? Your business is notorious for not being able to find people, and when you do find them, there's high turnover. Do we see anything
yeah.
positive in that regard?
Well, I think what's going to happen is I'd be surprised if you don't lose 40% of the restaurants to this thing completely. And at that point, you'll have a lot more, you know, staff to choose from.
Right.
That's the good /
Sad.
bad part of it. You know, there'll
Sad.
be people
Yep.
without jobs, but you know, from our standpoint, you'll be able to hire. You know,
Yep.
I don't know how it's all going to shake out. You know, it's really weird, man. It's you know, like I said, we're in an area that we've never been before. So, and the bottom line is, I think that this will, you know, like just like you know the flu in the 50s and the Spanish flu and AIDS and all that. Ultimately, this will, you know, we'll be talking about this from a historic standpoint in a year, I'm sure. You know.
Yeah.
All of, you know, the people who are yelling fire in the theater here notwithstanding,
Yeah.
it'll all be gone at some point, you know. But the lasting effects of what they're doing now, you know, I mean, there's people are saying, you know, we can't open up anything until there's a vaccine. Well, we haven't had an AIDS vaccine yet. You know, it's been 20 years, you know.
Good
So
point.
who knows when it's going to happen, you know.
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't know. It's just you know.
It's a tough spot. Everybody's in that same sort of cloud. It's a cloud of unknown. So we hope
Yeah.
for the best. I got to tell you, one of my favorite things I used to do is come home back from the city and stop at your place, Jewel, and eat that tuna pizza. I had to tell you, that was
Oh
one of
yeah,
my
yeah.
favorite. It was amazing. That probably
Thank you.
doesn't sound, you know, normal, but it's compatible. I don't know what you did there,
Oh
but
yeah.
it's just so compatible. It's just fantastic.
Yeah, that's you know Wolfgang Puck started all of that with the you know the smoked salmon pizza back at Spago days in the '80s,
Ah,
and you know
great.
Spago was one of those restaurants where you know it's all he heard about when he opened Spago, and I don't know if you know this, but he actually had a rock promoter take him on. I'm trying to think of the guy's name now. It'll come to me in a minute, but the guy was Alice Cooper's PR guy and manager, and he was friends with Wolfgang's wife, who was from Brooklyn. I can't think of his name now. It'll come to me. But anyway, so she said to him, "Hey, listen, my husband opened this little restaurant. You know, you think you can help promote it? Give me some ideas." Da, da, da. So he took him under his wing, and it's all you heard about, you know, nationally for 2 years. Was Spago, 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 to the point where I flew out there to check it out. I wanted to hate the restaurant. I'm going to hate this place. I swear to God, I'm going to hate it. It's got to be. And by the time I was done eating, if they said shave your head and sell flowers at the front with a white robe on, I would have been out there. So it was
Very
fabulous.
cool.
You did a great job.
Well, whatever you're doing there is really, really cool, really good. What are you running now? Just tell the public, you know, what you're running and what is open, and really anything you want to tell the public, which is obviously your customers for life. From your perspective, that's what you want, no matter what happens.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I you know, I sold Jewel,
Yep.
and about I guess about 6 months ago, whatever it was. Thank God. I mean, timing is everything, right?
Yeah.
I still
Yes.
have Kingfish over in Westbury in the Vanderbilt building.
Yep.
And that's open for takeout. And we have Allure in Southold, which is right on the bay in the Port of Egypt Marina, and that's open for takeout. And we have Amano in Mattatuck, and that's open for takeout. It's kind of a Tuscan Italian place. I have a catering company called Plated Simply, which is I do very high-end weddings in the vineyard and stuff like that out here. I don't do too many
Good to know.
backyard smaller
Yeah.
parties, but we do a lot of the bigger events. And I just took over the kitchen in a private club in Oyster Bay called the Mill River Club. And what happened was that when I sold Jewel, I really had nothing to do. I have a chef partner in each of my restaurants. So I was playing golf with one of my financial partners who used to be the president of the club. And he said, you know, what are you going to do now that you sold Jewel? I said, I don't know. I'm going to run from restaurant to restaurant yelling at people, I guess. I don't know what the hell I'm going to do. So turns out he says, well, listen, we're moving away from our chef there. Would you think about coming to the club and, you know, maybe see if you can change things up a little bit over there? You know, because country club culture is kind of still living in the 60s a little bit as far as the food goes.
Yeah, it
in
is.
a lot of these places, you know. And so I see some of them moving away. Like my friend Blake Verity took over Piping Rock, is doing a great job there. And Alex Lee was at Glen Oaks for a while. Richard Allen, who's a wildly talented guy, is down at Sea Lane. So I said to him, I said, you know, I do what I do, and if you want that, great. You know what I mean? It might be a fun challenge, but if you're just looking for somebody to babysit the place and make pastrami sandwiches and egg salad, I'm probably not your guy.
Right.
So they all said, yeah, we want to, we want you to change everything up. So I'm over there. I've been there since the beginning of the year. We opened briefly in March for about 3 days and then had to shut down again. So now we're doing takeout over there. Right. So I've been kind of messing with that, which has been a hoot, actually, because it's a completely different animal,
Sure.
And, it's been a lot of fun.
So just private club members there, right?
Private club members. You can do some catering if you know the right guy. If you call me, I can get you in there, bar mitzvahs, weddings, that kind of thing. We are open to the public in that regard, and you just need a member to sponsor you, which is easy enough to do. So, but from that standpoint, it's a beautiful club. I mean, the golf course is magnificent. The building is gorgeous. It's just they just did a big renovation on it, so it's they got a new chef, new manager, new room, new dining room, new facilities. So it's all kind of exciting at the moment.
Very nice. So no shortage of projects, no shortage of passion for what you do best, which is the food business and making people happy between 4 or 5 places, it sounds like still. And you're going to stay alive, man.
What's really funny is, through this, I always tell people I haven't eaten home since 1968. And it's true. I mean, every night that I'm not in one of the restaurants in the club or whatever, I'm out to eat. I don't eat at home ever. And so the last month and a half, 2 months, I've been forced to kind of do that. My girlfriend's been cooking. She's very good at it. And, I said to her, I said, I'm home every night for dinner. Is this the way normal people live? She goes, like, yeah. I'm like, that kind of sucks. I don't like it. You know what I mean? I feel like a fish out of water here. I'm kinda, like I get 2 left shoes on or whatever. So I got a small taste of what retirement, I guess, would look like, and I'm out.
You're not retired. There's no way you're retired.
No, I'll die in the kitchen with my hand on a range, on or off switch or whatever. It'll be clutch my chest and go down in the middle of a Saturday night or whatever's going to happen.
I love it. Hey, when could we catch you playing some music too?
I haven't been doing too much of that. I mean, I have a band we've been together in one form or another since like 1989, 88, 89, something like that. And there are 4 wildly talented musicians and myself. And they got me around because I'm the only one that doesn't smoke weed, so I can remember the lyrics. So they need me, But all the others are professional musicians. And, like we have a couple of guest guys that come in. Andy Alador, who plays with Dickie Betts in Great Southern.
Nice.
And he's like the senior editor for Guitar World magazine, a monster guitar player. Another friend of mine, Bosco, who's so good he only has one name. He's like Sting and Madonna. He's a great guitar player. Brian Leclerc, who is another beast of a guitar player, plays with us all the time. James Bernard, the drummer, is great, especially now since he's sober. And Mike Leclerc, a great bass player. So we have, depending on who shows up, it's a lineup of really, really talented people who I get to hang with and learn a lot from.
Very nice. Very nice. Sound like a lucky guy, Tom. It's been a pleasure talking to you. I want both of us to shout out to Tommy P, good old Tommy P, who brought us together today.
Yeah, Tommy Palazzotto. I got to play golf with him. I got to get him over to the club.
Oh, God. All right. I didn't know he did it. It's been a while. Fantastic.
Yeah.
Tommy P, you play golf?
I always he does. Not well, I hear, but he does. I always tell people, I turned 2 bad habits into a career, this eating and drinking thing, and it's been a wild ride. I mean, I wouldn't change a thing. I mean, I've had, in this business you have ups and downs. Nobody bats 1,000, and there's all kinds of things that can go wrong and right or whatever. So it's this constant up and down spike you see, in anybody's career. But I wouldn't change a thing. I mean, I've met a lot of interesting people and. Eating great food all over the world. I've drunk some of the best wines that have ever been produced, and just had a ball doing it. If we could just, lighten up on the, now what's happening now is that, you have the government getting involved in everybody's businesses, handing out raises whenever they think it's a good idea to get a vote. And then you get the lawyers suing everything that doesn't move. It's he said, she said, so give her $80,000, even though we can't prove anything happened. It's becoming a minefield. And I'd like to see that roll back a little bit. They've kind of unleashed the inmates on the asylum, and they haven't done anybody any favors, and they're hurting a lot of people. So hopefully that will all change and get back to where it's supposed to be, because, you know, it's really a fun business to be in. You don't make a lot of money as much as people think you do. You don't, and you have to be passionate to be in it. And the interesting part is, if it's in your DNA, you can do it. And if it's not, you can't fake it. You know, it's only a matter of time before it just catches you, and you wind up giving up the ghost. So.
Absolutely. Well, Tom, it's been a pleasure speaking to you. I think we're for a more laissez-faire, if you will, attitude in all businesses. And here in 2020, that would be the way to go. Let's roll it back. Let's let the business people and the people that love what they do it. That's what you stand for. That's clear. I know I'm talking to you. You're in a kitchen now. Thank you so much for your time. We're here on LongIsland.com, Long Island Talks, Chefs in a Pandemic with Tom Schaudel. Thank you so much, and we'll talk to you real soon. We'll talk to you right after this thing gets back to normal. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thanks for having me, Kevin. I appreciate it.
You're absolutely welcome. Have a great day.